but it definitely feels like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Any questions from our panelists? If you have a question and can raise your hand using the little feature, Mayor Woolsey, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. So great to hear that we've made a lot of progress in permitting, and sad that right away is looking like May. But what about bidding contract? What's the estimate on that?
So we can't advertise the project until we have all the right of way. So that'll come after May. So I would think if we've completed all the purchases by May, we'll send the bid out, or the bidding package out to procurement, and it usually takes them 6 weeks to advertise. So we're looking at, June, late June, if all stays on that track.
Well, that's light at the end of the tunnel in my view. And then construction would possibly start.
We usually advertise for 30 days. So that would be summer, and that might be an issue with Folly traffic. Not sure, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about here.
I see. So that, when the beach traffic is worse, we might not want to do construction.
Right.
And then we could have this finished up, or, we could be cutting the ribbon and all be out there doing a ribbon cutting in the fall. Is that, October, November, something like that? Is that realistic or possible?
So we're, we have a 300-day construction time frame. So we're thinking it'll take almost a year to construct.
Okay, so wow.
Yeah. So not this fall. Now it could be less than that, but that's what we're giving the contractor.
Okay.
That's the time we're giving the contractors to build. And when we give, that window of time, we see typically that we get more contractors to bid on the project.
I see. And so it could be that the contractor that it gets it won't start.
It's possible. I've seen that. Yes. They might not start right away. Yeah.
All right. I understand. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions on this agenda item? Well, thank you so much, Sheila. I know it takes a lot of coordination to get these things underway. And so this sounds very promising, getting closer. So our next agenda item is Mobility Month ReThink Folly Road event. And she is now online. So we have Katie Zimmerman, who's going to chat about that. I'll turn it over to you, Katie.
Thanks. So for those of you who are not familiar with Mobility Month, every May is National Bike Month, and locally, we at Charleston Moves celebrate it as Mobility Month, so that we're also bringing attention to not just bicycling, but also walking, running, using transit. Basically, we use it as an opportunity to celebrate complete streets. So we put together a few events every May, and one of those that we thought would be timely is a ReThink Folly Road event, outreach event. So it would basically be sort of a version 2.0 of the event that the steering committee did. What was that, 2 years ago at Martin's Barbecue? So we're looking at May 10th from 5 to 7, again at Martin's Barbecue. It would just be an opportunity to bring the public up to speed on everything that has happened with ReThink Folly over the past few years, and getting the opportunity to get public input from folks and just really sort of gather together around the latest and greatest, and chatting with folks. So the town is kindly sponsoring And really, it just, I think the big question for you all is making sure that you all are comfortable as a committee, being sort of helping with promotion of this event, hopefully attending the event, and then also, if we can, list you all as a partner on the event. So, ReThink Folly Road outreach event led by steering committee, it's language to that effect.
Wow, I think that sounds like a great idea, Katie, but I'd love to hear from those on the committee about just engaging in this. I mean, certainly individually, I'm happy to promote to my 25 followers,
Yeah.
what we're doing and the progress, and commit in that regard. But because we no longer have a consultant that's actually responsible for all of the, I guess, promotion materials and those kinds of things associated with ReThink, it will fall on an individual or an entity represented in this group. So just want to make sure that we have the commitment from all the partners before we, launch into something that then nobody's responsible for. So
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, if Nikki.
To clarify a bit, we've got our graphic designer working on all of the materials, the outreach materials for all of the Mobility Month events. And we are supposed to meet up with all of the jurisdiction staff for ReThink Folly Road to kind of talk through the details and who has the time and is available to, host a table with outreach materials on the various jurisdictions parts of all of this. So really, I think Charleston moves, and then the town of James Island staff have been wonderful as well as we've talked to them so far. We would make sure that we're coordinating the whole thing. We just want to make sure that the steering committee is comfortable so that we're not, out there promoting a ReThink Folly Road event that the steering committee is not comfortable with.
Absolutely. Well, I think Mayor Woolsey and I may be the only two. We got Fred, who represents business. Cynthia's on. Any comments from
Joe
you guys?
Walter is also from business, but we don't have city
Joe.
staff or we have, Caroline Parker, I guess, in the year, North the Folly Beach folks. But anyway, I think it's a great idea. And I would say, in my opinion, the most useful thing that we could share to the citizens at the meeting would be what Charleston County Transportation could provide about where, the most current plans for the sidewalk project for phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing, I think. And so we need to make sure we've got them on board with having representatives and, the kind of material that they usually provide for public meetings for projects. That's, and if they can't do it, then it would be pretty challenging to do too much.
Yeah.
But we need to check with them.
Yes, and I'm not sure Caroline should be on. I'm not sure if maybe she got the times mixed up, but in any event, I'll make sure also that the city is on board. But I mean, I think as a committee, I don't know that we need an emotion necessarily, but we would definitely be in support. And I will coordinate from the county standpoint, making sure that we have somebody to discuss our role.
Wonderful. I think Savannah, my colleague, and I think we're sitting in on the next ReThink Folly staff planning session to also make sure everybody to hear from the staff about what kind of time they've got.
Yeah.
Sorry, Savannah. Next week is when that's happening.
Excellent. Well, yeah, just keep us posted then, because that is going to happen before our next quarterly meeting.
Yep.
And so, but thanks so much for bringing it to our attention. Any more discussion specifically on the Mobility Month? I love it, Katie. Love what you guys are doing, promoting
Thank
complete
you.
streets. Safe roads means safe roads for all users. So.
Yep.
All right, moving on to number 5, our survey results from the beach shuttle. I think that was going to be presented by the town. So Nikki, is that you?
I'm gonna just briefly go over, it's Flannery. I'm gonna go over just a couple of those.
Okay, great.
So I'm not gonna go over the whole thing because we can definitely provide y'all with the PDF document that shows the graphs with some good stuff on there. We did have 400 responses, which I think Tool briefly touched on back in December and indicated that that was a pretty good number of responses for us for this survey. So generally, I think some of the more core questions were, would you use a beach shuttle between James Island and Folly Beach? 23% of those respondents said no, but then 77% said yes. We asked, would you be willing to travel to a park and ride location on James Island and then ride the shuttle to Folly Beach? 25% of respondents said no, and then 75% said yes. And then would you use the beach shuttle if it was a 10-minute ride using a dedicated lane that bypassed traffic? 14% said no, but then 86% of respondents said yes. And then would you use the beach shuttle if it was a 45-minute ride in the same lane as existing traffic? And 81% of respondents said no, and only 19% said yes. There were also a couple of free response questions that were a little bit, kind of spread out. I did kind of put those together a little bit. So number 10 on that survey was, what places would you visit most on Folly Beach? First was the Center Street, bars, restaurants, and shops. 216 responses indicated that that was the top option for them. 192 responses said that the beach was the top option. The county park followed with 123 responses. The pier was 66. The washout beach or restaurant, I'm not sure, was 38. The lighthouse, 33. Visiting friends or family or going to work was 12 responses. Other, including going to church, the library, study hall, or playgrounds, was 10. And then hotels and motels, there were 2 responses. Number 17 was also a free response, and that was, where do you live? 198 responses were James Island residents. West Ashley was 61. Downtown Charleston, 45. Johns Island had 26 responses there. Somerville was 15. Folly Beach and North Charleston were 9 each. Goose Creek and Mount Pleasant were 5 each. Hanahan and Wamala and Ravenel had 3. Daniel Island and Ridgeville had 2 responses each. And then Megget, Cottageville, Utahville, and Felonville each had 1. And then we had 4 participants that were from out of state. The final question on the survey was, pretty wide open. It was, do you have any questions, comments, concerns? Those ranged, all over the place. I kind of consolidated it a little bit just so we'd have a general idea. 68 of those responses indicated that they loved the idea of a designated lane. 13 responses indicated that this option would have to save time, for them in traffic for them to use it. 6 responses indicated that they were interested in eco or micro options. 29 responses indicated that they would need to be able to bring their blank with them on the shuttle. So dog, surfboard, cooler, that sort of thing. 13 responses indicated that pedestrians and bike lane improvements were also very high up on their importance scale, along with the shuttle. We had 38 just general miscellaneous suggestion comments that, pertain to price, frequency, route options, that sort of thing. 20 responses said that this was a bad idea and they vote no for the shuttle. 9 responses said they would never ever participate or use the shuttle. 13 responses were not related to the survey at all. And then 6 said that it was a bad survey. So that's really where we're at.
Great. Any questions or comments for Flannery on that? I mean, surveys are hard, I'm not going to lie, especially in the drafting phase. So you get the whole gamut, but to me, it did show that there's an interest if we can make the ride feasible, that is, get out there in a way that makes it encourages people to ride it instead of simply drive and wait in traffic on their own. So not sure, how we get there from where we're at today, but always open for suggestions and discussion about it. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
I think it was a useful exercise. You know, I personally was just interested in what people would say, just because I kind of wondered if people would be willing to take a Folly trolley at all, even if it was separated. So I think the results are really telling and really useful, and we can sort of, it's information to keep in the back of our minds as we are proceeding forward, and as there might be future opportunities to get, you know, I think what's in the ReThink Folly plan right now suggests a shared bus bike lane. So it would obviously be wide enough for a bus. Drivers would need to be trained to, you know, share it with cyclists, but I think we'll have opportunities in the future to get to this, and it's just a useful data set for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows a shift in just the sentiment in our region toward transit.
Yep.
Because I don't know, 10 years ago, I don't think anybody would have said they'd want to use it. Probably couldn't have envisioned it really, but also just wasn't familiar. But as we move forward with projects like the bus rapid transit, and people would just become more familiar, maybe they are from other areas, it has sort of shifted the perspective. So definitely something to keep. I hate to use the phrase shelf it for now, but definitely to keep in the back of our minds. So, all right. Welcome to Ms. Parker. Councilmember Parker is on. So sorry again about the shifts in time, but that she's here. I think that leads us on to item number 6, which is our TSET application update. So there were some grant opportunities that Nikki was going to discuss. And so Nikki, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I'm actually also going to promote Kyle from the COG, mainly just to really thank him for all of his hard work in helping us pull that application together. So I don't know if you recall from the December meeting, Tool really worked hard to kind of get us the shell of a document put together for this application. So it's a great kind of starting point that I think that we could use when we are trying to go after other grant opportunities. It's kind of all packaged together in one document, which I'd be happy to share as well. But they as in the COG, really assisted in developing a cost estimate for the preliminary and final design for phase 2. Which is the corridor between George Griffith Boulevard and South Grimble Road. That would connect another 1.5 miles of 12-foot wide multi-use path along the west side of Folly Road. And then there would also be an 8-foot wide landscape buffer between the path and the travel lanes. Also included in this application were 3 CARTA transit pads with shelters and the amenities. And the cost that we projected was about $482,000. So that application was submitted to Charleston County for review. We hope that the city of Charleston has added this to their request list, as this area falls within their jurisdiction. And we think that we can use this, you know, to go after other opportunities in the future. I have not identified any right now, but I feel sure that I will be made aware of any future opportunities from our great partners that keep track of these things. Are there any questions on the application, or?
Did Kyle have anything to add, or was you were promoting him just to answer questions? Or?
Yeah, I don't know if he's thought of or had any other opportunities kind of come up since the last time we talked a couple of weeks ago, but just in case if he had anything to add.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, so we do have one upcoming opportunity that I would be able, it's through BCD COG and chats. It's the transportation alternative set aside. That call for projects will take place soon. But I wanted to mention kind of a secondary set of it that we haven't talked about previously. So that call for projects, the maximum award size, still a little bit in flux. That's the last thing we're waiting on to finalize before doing the call for projects, but think somewhere around $800,000, $900,000 as the maximum award. But if somebody were to apply through chats and were unsuccessful, they would then be allowed to pass that application on to SCDOT for their discretionary funding. This is a recent shift in their process. So applying to us, even if your award size is greater than our maximum award size, is still an important step in the process for going after SCDOT's funding.
Great. I mean, next is our jurisdictional updates. And so I don't want to conflate the two. If anyone has questions specific about TST applications, I don't know if Caroline wants to mention it in the next section, but there are several projects that we're working on, I think, for connectivity off of Folly Road, but that would connect to what we're in the future attempting to do. Of course, our next phase of ReThink is we'll have some updates at our next quarterly meeting, but because the town did not approve the its match of the funding for that section, since it's not in the town, we're re-looking at how to proceed with that. So we'll certainly be discussing it more at the next quarterly meeting. But if there are no more questions about the current TST application opportunities, we can move into jurisdictional updates. Caroline, did you want to add anything from the city standpoint?
As far as the TST application?
Yeah, or jurisdictional updates on projects in the ReThink Folly area.
No, I don't have any updates other than I think you saw the email from when the town decided not to approve the city. Mr. Somerville is saying that he has it in our requests.
Great.
That's my only update.
So the city is put it in their request to fund the town's, what would have been the town portion, but we understand the town is.
I hope, yes. I haven't gotten confirmation from Mr. Somerville, but from his email, that's what he said.
Okay.
So just to clarify though, the town application didn't have an actual match account, match amount for the application. It was just in support of the application.
So let me, as Nikki said, the town was not willing to devote any funds for this, but this body had determined the town would be like the point agency to request TST for this project, and council voted it down. I think 4-1. I voted in favor of it, and all the rest of council, every one of them voted against it. And the only real argument was that we had another TST request, which is to extend sidewalks along Hills Bluff Road. Is that correct, Nikki? So our request, which we have a match for, and that some members of council felt that if we approved this match for ReThink Folly Road, we're like competing with our own town project, and they really had no interest in that. So that's what happened. And like I say, it was defeated 4-1. I voted in favor of it.
So I've also discussed it with the county and trying to sort through who the applicant is to make sure that this doesn't affect. Obviously, the town support is helpful, but when it comes down to it, you've got to have all the dollars that match the grant. So we're very grateful to the city for stepping up and at least considering putting it in its application. But yeah, there's a lot of worthy projects all over the island going on, and so eventually we do start to compete with one another over those dollars, and sometimes even our own projects. So I mean, I completely understand. But next quarter we'll talk more about where phase 2 stands and sort of where we get from there. Any other jurisdictional updates? We have the town, the city. I don't see anybody from Folly.
I can go from the town. That's okay, Kristen.
Hey, Kristen. Yeah.
We just have a couple things. And you might have seen the rocket going up on 801 Folly where Sweetwater Cafe was. So that'll be Jack's Cosmic Dogs. They're not doing too much to the place except updating a little bit and adding some outdoor seating. so they've already got their permits for that. So that will be opening soon. And last week, the town's BZA approved a Jimmy John's at 889 Folly Road, which is the older car wash that's on the west side of the road at the intersection of Folly and Camp. So there's several conditions that they put on there, the BZA put on the applicant. So we're going to work through those. And I believe that's all we have.
Great. Anything else from our municipal? Somebody's got their hand up in the attendee section. Nikki, I'm not sure if Belen wants to come in. I think she's with the COG. If you could let her in.
I can go really quick while we're waiting on that.
Okay,
this is Jim at the city. No major updates. Just wanted to let you all know that 1471 Folly, which I mentioned to this group when it was going through rezoning. That's in front of the Folly Road Church of Christ. It's a pretty small parcel along Folly, but it's going to be a small office / some kind of small storage use. But they're going through TRC. They just submitted for their first review last week. So you'll see if you keep up with TRC or DRB, you'll see that one coming through now. And then also wanted to add in the discussion about the Mobility Month event. Sorry, I got some people walking by my desk. On the Mobility Month event, just wanted to say that I will definitely be there. As far as I'm concerned, the city is definitely in support, and we'll definitely offer any services I can to that.
Thank you, Jim. Helen?
Hey, just wanted to give an update for the bus stop at the Walmart. It's one of our most used stops on James Island. We were able to get a donated bench to upgrade the bench that we currently have. In phase 1, we have plans to have a shelter there, but we were able to get a nicer bench to serve those as we're waiting for that shelter to be installed. That's all
Thanks. Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Hi, this is Jenna with the City of Folly Beach.
Hey.
Say, hey, we are here, but don't have anything to report.
Great. Well, thanks again for joining, Jenna. We appreciate it. All right. Anybody have anything else? Any questions, concerns, stuff we need to look ahead for in our next quarterly meeting, which will be probably March, either late May or early June, which of course puts us right at Spoleto time. Caroline, you're on mute, but yeah.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Honeycutt. So the Kyle from the COG, so who needs to make that application? Who do we have who's creating that application or going after that?
Well, that'd be up to the committee. So likely it would be the same applicant for phase 2, so Town of James Island. But if the county or somebody else wanted to be the lead applicant, that's okay too.
And Caroline,
Okay,
I think that's what we needed to work through. If it's not really in the town and they're really just lending their support, it probably does need to be either the county or the city. So I think knowing exactly what Mr. Somerville intends to do will help us in making that decision. But I've also reached out to Devery about it to see, how we move forward.
Okay, so where we'll leave it today is just we're going to decide if it's either the city or the county making that application.
Right.
Okay.
I'm happy to provide all of the background documents too, whenever that's established.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be helpful. We'll need that. And I think the county has most of it, but yeah, we'll make sure that we've got everything when the time comes, that all of the stakeholders involved have it.
So in terms of jurisdiction, Chairwoman, it's mostly City of Charleston jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
No, there is a piece of county jurisdiction as you move further down towards South Grimble, but Walmart to North Grimble or the other side of Fort Johnson, that's all in the city. The new public shopping center is all in the city. the buildings, the big storage unit, the pet helpers, it all runs into the city, and then it stops a little further down. So I don't know, maybe I just don't have a good picture of how many mile, is it half mile or whatever, but so I think the city or the county would be appropriate, and also, just in general, I think the county might be the best lead on all of this, since we're all in Charleston County.
Well, yeah, it crosses all jurisdictions for sure. But in terms of funding, and I think that's where it's sort of the critical element. I did go back, and February 21st, when right after the town's vote, Robbie Somerville did indicate to our staff that it's in their application. So they're going to apply. I'm assuming they'll be the applicant. And so we'll have more to report on that at the next quarterly meeting once all that's ironed out. But the county and the city are definitely working together on that. And Eric Adams is aware as well. So we appreciate the town's support. All right, Beth Saunders, you have a question?
Yes, I had a question for Katie, just quickly. Could you repeat the date for the event at Martin's, please, so we can attend?
You bet. Yeah, right now we've got it scheduled for May 10th from 5 to 7.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And anybody who joined late, that was the Mobility Month sort of celebration at Martin's Barbecue again, really promoting complete streets and also kind of focusing in on what we're doing with ReThink Folly. So some of you attended 2 or 3 years ago when we did it. I think it was right before COVID. But it was a very successful event. Lots of people attended, a lot of people interested in what's going on to improve Folly Road. So I think it'll be well attended. And we'll all be there to support. So thanks again, Katie. If there's nothing else, I think that's all we have for today. Our meeting is adjourned, and we'll meet back at our next quarterly meeting. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all.